My name is Brianna. This is the Mama Knows Not a podcast, and we are bringing you the Expat series so that you can learn everything you didn't know you needed to know about being an expatriate, or as we say in Spain, extranjero. Extranjero. See, I can't do it now. Anyway, this is April. She is a friend of mine. She's a professional dancer, and she has had quite a journey to her situation here in España. So she's going to share all the things that she learned along her way to maybe help you guys figure out what's right for you. So welcome, April. Thank you for taking the time to chat with me and share your experience as an expat.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
Pressure pushing down on me. Okay, so let's ask a very obvious question. What prompted you or motivated you to take the leap of faith and move to a foreign country?
So I actually got a contract in Dubai. And yeah, that was it. At the time, I had 7 jobs at the same time, and I had to leave all of them within 2 weeks to go to Dubai, which was no, I don't think anyone around me expected that one.
So
yes.
Why did you have 7? First of all, why did you have 7 jobs? Let's go back to that.
They were all dance jobs. I now can appreciate work-life balance is very important. At that time in my life, it was not necessary. All I wanted to do was dance, and so I don't recommend that high route to burnout. But yes.
So what was it about this contract in Dubai that was alluring for you?
Well, I never left the country before, so the whole thing was a super exciting experience. And also, the contract that I got was a Christmas contract, and it was doing different Christmas shows, and it did a Christmas parade. And I had worked at Disney at the time, and I love theme parks, and I love everything like that. So the fact that I'd be doing something similar, but in Dubai, was like a dream come true in my mind.
And what was it like for you to be in Dubai? First of all, that's a huge jump from not leaving the country to basically going halfway around the world to a very different culture as well. Let's just add that layer in there. So what was that experience like for you?
You should have seen my family's reaction. They're like, wait, what are you doing? I was like, don't worry about it. It's going to be great. I didn't have my passport at the time either. I was like, I'll figure it out. Where there's a will, there's a way.
Oh my gosh. So you get there, and what happened?
I really vividly remember being like getting out of the airport and my phone not working and not being aware that like you're like, I really didn't know. I was so naive. I was like, oh, my phone isn't working. What do I do? And I was like, wait, I don't know the language. But everyone's like, for the most part, like English is very like commonly spoken there. But on the signs you see Arabic, right? And so I just remember just being like in this weird dream, and I was like, oh my goodness, like I really I don't know what I'm doing. So I had this realization. I actually had it earlier on. Actually, I had it we had a layover in Germany, and I thought like it would be super easy to find my next flight, and there'd be a lot of English. There wasn't. I honestly found one other person who spoke English in the bathroom and followed them, and that was like my first like, ooh, maybe this is gonna be harder than I thought.
Yes, it was. And so what was the living situation for you in Dubai?
Originally, I actually lived at a hotel that was like on the property, which was kind of fun, for a month. And then I moved out and lived it's called Dubai Marina, which a lot of expats live in this area. So it was super nice. And then there I lived with, I think it was like 5 of us. We were all part of the cast. There was a period of time where I was like sleeping with one other dancer in the same bed. So it was kind of slumber party all the time.
Oh my God, I would not. I'm too old for that shit, but it sounds like an adventure for sure.
It was an adventure, yes.
And then with the contract, were all your visas and things like that laid out for you? Did you have to communicate with anybody to get, the necessary requirements done for you to live and work and be paid in the country?
Yeah, so with that, they had that very like streamlined for us. So that was actually quite easy because we had an apartment that helped us with that. Yeah. There was a lot that went into the visa process there. Like we had to get there was a whole health examination. They took a lot of blood tests and all that I had I have no clue what they did. But so yeah, that's actually the most intense like visa process from like medical examinations and stuff that I had to do was very, very different there.
Um, so they microchipped you. You are now being. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I'm only
Can't
saying that.
confirm or deny. I don't know.
I can neither confirm nor deny these allegations. So, my son's father has his business set up in Dubai, and one of the things they do before they grant you a visa, exactly what you're saying, is that you have to have a full, literally head to toe medical screening. So you're obviously healthy. Um, Otherwise they won't let you in if they find any kind of like disease, cancer, or something that's super contagious. You are denied. Like they are aggressive about it. So that's so crazy that you brought that up.
Literally, so, and also I think there's something with your eyes as well, like where you can like they can like I don't know. I saw something about
Oh,
this like
what?
yeah, where like in Abu Dhabi they can like track your eyes or something. I don't know. I can't confirm or deny this, but we did a lot of tests, and so I'm not really actually sure what information I've shared, but I made
Yeah,
it.
I mean, at least, if nothing else, you know that you probably don't have anything terminal or super contagious, so you're good.
Yes,
It's a
exactly.
good, it's a good thing. And so, what did you like about living in Dubai?
It was so drastically different that it was just so cool. For the period of time I was there, there is just it's a very it's very modern. So everything
Mm.
is very futuristic. For example, when I was there, there was the Dubai Expo, and they
Mm.
had like guest service robots, for example, that were coming around and like helping people out. And I remember the kids were just interacting with it like it was normal. And I was like, what? There's a robot. That's it. Like that's Wally. Why does Wally exist? Like
He really
and then, for
exists.
example, there's like drone shows in the sky, for example. And so, like in Dubai Marina, like we'd be sitting and having dinner, and there'd just be a drone show, and like everyone's kind of like very monotone, like, oh yeah, just another drone show. And I was like, that's like there's
Oh,
like a face in the sky, like that's a crazy concept. So yeah,
it's very elaborate. Is that a safe thing to say about Dubai? I've never been, so I have no idea.
yeah,
But
everything is just yes, everything is big and everything is flashy and yeah. So I guess definitely the stories that you hear about it, it's definitely it's another world. It's a bubble. I call it the bubble.
yeah, that makes sense. And how long were you there for?
I was there for 10 months. 10
Oh,
months or
wow.
yeah.
Did you ever, was there anything you didn't like about living there or anything that was just like, oh, no, thank you?
So I really missed like nature and things like because everything is like there's a lot
Mm.
that's a little bit more superficial there. So I really missed like I after that I went to Italy and I think I just hugged a tree and just like everything that was just like a little bit unperfect. I was like I just kind of craved um I
Oh,
just things that were
interesting.
a little less man-made and artificial.
Oh, I like that. That's a
Yeah.
really good. Oh, yeah. You kind of forget like you're on this desert essentially, and they make a beach and they build all these beautiful things, but it's not
Real.
real. It's,
Exactly. That's why it's like a bubble. It's a weird, yeah. And I went back to when I was in America again. I was like, "There's a squirrel! Oh my goodness!" And everyone's like, "Why are you freaking out about a squirrel?" And I was like, "I haven't seen one of those in so long. It's the coolest animal ever.
it's,
I was looking at
it's,
anything differently."
it's the little things. All
Yeah,
right.
it's the little things.
So you leave Dubai and now you're like, okay, what happens next? Where do you go? What do you do? How did you
So
work?
yeah, I jumped that work-life balance doesn't exist. So I jumped into a contract on a cruise ship, and I actually flew right into Italy. So we had a rehearsal in Italy to start for a month for a cruise ship. So I got on a 10-month contract starting in Italy from there.
What part of Italy were you there? Were you in? Oh, blah, 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 blah.
We were in, oh my goodness, the name is escaping me. It's near Pisa.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, near Pisa. It's a smaller town where we had our rehearsals.
And so you were just there for a month and then you got on a boat.
Yeah, and then yeah, we flew into Miami and I got on a boat. And I'd also never been on a cruise ship before.
I haven't either. I
So
think I'd be
that was
scared to
awesome.
get on one now. So good for you. Like the
Yeah.
idea of not be like on a floating island kind of scares me.
Yeah,
Okay.
I didn't I don't I have this thing where I say yes and then stress later. So like if I've already like you can't think about it too much if it's already signed and then I have to do it. So that was my thought process. So
Okay, well, let's go back to the passport thing. You apply for this job in Dubai, right? Okay, no passport. How did you get that turned around so quickly?
I got my badge. No, but I where there's a will, there's a way, and I was creative with, and I was able to get it. Yes.
Mm.
I already had it in process. So I was able to make a call or two, and it worked out.
Help me, I'm poor. Uh,
I was
they
like,
do say like,
but because I already had a contract, so I was able to like kind of like leverage that, and it was already like in that process. So
yeah, I was going to say sometimes, a lot of times they are very helpful if you have to go somewhere and do something. Um, it's really great in that
yeah.
capacity. Okay, so you train in Italy for a month, then you fly back to the States to get on a cruise ship, and you float around. Did you like that?
Being on the or just flying around or being on a cruise ship
Being
or
on the cruise ship, did you enjoy that experience?
yeah, I loved it. I thought it was the coolest thing, the fact that I could just look out the and it was always in a different place.
Mm.
I definitely was an adventure junkie point of my life, that everything was just so cool, just everything being different. Um of course, like after the 10-month point, it I was ready to like be on land for a little bit, right? But when I was I was like, but yeah, and when I first got on the ship too, I also like I did definitely get very, very nauseous, and was like, I'm not really sure if I can live in this boat if I like can't last a day without feeling like I'm gonna puke. But you do get your sea legs, so I got mine.
So now you're good to go. You can ride on anything probably now.
Yeah.
Any
And then when
any
I got
sea
off the
vessel.
ship, I couldn't go to sleep because the boat wasn't rocking me. This was the weirdest thing. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's true. I've never been on a cruise ship. I don't know what that's like. Nobody's rocked me to sleep since I was a baby, so sad for me.
That's very normal though, right?
Right. So sad for me. Okay, so then did you need any specific paperwork to go in and out of all these ports or to travel on the cruise ship or not?
So now I'm like feeling like I'm taking it back, because my thing about Dubai being a very complicated medical, that cruise ship medical is so complicated as well. It's very, very in depth. I remember it was like the stack of papers that need to be signed. But I think it's because like they can't, if you're going to be on a boat, I guess that
Mm.
they need to make sure everything is as possible. So yes, I had to get a lot of tests for that as well. A lot. Was
And
very healthy at this point in my life. I don't know about now, but before I was figuring fine.
and what was the cruise path that you took?
So we flew into Miami, and we actually did quite a route. We went all the way down through like all of the Caribbean islands, and then we went to Brazil for 3 months, and
Oh
then we crossed
wow.
the Atlantic, which was a very scary experience for nobody but me. And then when we got to Europe, Europe, we went to France, Italy, and Portugal and Spain, but mainly Italy and Spain.
Oh my gosh. And so where are all these people on the cruise ship coming from? Like how long is their tenure on the boat?
The guests.
Yeah.
So guests can get on for, usually it's a 1 week cruise, but sometimes we did 10-day cruises. And then the crossing, there's like special guests that will sign up for this big crossing of the Atlantic. Like they're the adventurers. So and that would be, I think that was like over 20 days. I forget how many days that took the
Oh
cross.
my gosh.
Yeah.
What? 20 days across? What? Can you elaborate on that experience at all other than it was scary?
Now I'm like, was it less than 20 days? It felt like a long time. It was definitely one of our longest cruises. And now I feel like I'm on air and I'm lying, but it was definitely like 10 to 20 days. What was the experience? I had the realization that I was super scared of drowning when I was in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. So everybody else was like, because like being a dancer, we had just a certain amount of shows that we had to do. We had like much less work on the crossing because it was the same
Hmm.
guest. We were already seeing the same shows. So we like had a lot of free time. So everybody else was, like on the deck, like tanning, and I like just stayed in my little cabin hole, just because I was like, if I'm in here, I don't have to think about the fact that I'm on a floating boat in the middle of the ocean, and like, yeah, like I just was like really like aware of the fact that like drowning, I was scared of drowning, and this was like month 5.
This is month you got 5
Oh
more
yeah,
months left. Oh my
yeah.
gosh. And so you decided not to renew the contract, obviously. And how did you end up in Spain?
So it's because of Spain. Like I did a flamenco show on the ship, and
Oh,
so
fun.
I just started to become obsessed with learning Spanish, and Spanish culture. And then when we got in here, when we got to Europe, we docked in Ibiza, and we also docked in Valencia. And I was just obsessed
Mm.
with Valencia. I thought it was the coolest city in the world. I still do. And I just found myself when I was getting off in Valencia, just wanting to stay there. So I promised myself, I don't know how I'm going to get here, but I will live in Valencia. I will be there. So, yes.
And how did you make that happen?
Oh, it didn't happen right away. So last year I worked in, I'm working as an auxiliary de conversación. So I'm working in a public school, and my job is to advance the English language for kids. So I basically do the fun stuff in the English classroom. I get to talk to them, I get to play games, I'll do presentations, which is super fun. So with that, I was able to get a visa through that. And I'm in the Valencian region, but that doesn't mean I'm in Valencia City. So I basically am in the north of the city of Valencia. So last year I lived in a little bit of a smaller city, um, that's kind of in between Barcelona and Valencia. And then this year I've moved out to the big city doing the same job.
What was that visa process like? Is it something you can renew? Is it hard to get? What kind of credentials do you have to have? All that fun, good stuff.
We're actually on a student visa, which is all
Mm,
English teachers. A lot of the English teachers here are all on student visas, because we're getting a BECA, a scholarship from a grant from the Spanish government to work in the schools. So even
gotcha,
though we're
gotcha.
not studying, I guess that's how that kind of works out. It's the public school system. I still find the visa process quite complex. Again, it's my first time because this is me applying for myself. Like I have to do the work. Maybe that's why it was quite stressful. Also, again, you're dealing with another language now, so this compounds it. Um, yes, the issue, the what makes it difficult was not actually on the end of applying for the visa and getting the temporary permit. It's when you get here, there's additional appointments that need to be made, and those appointments are quite difficult to get. And so it's on paper super easy, but then in practice quite difficult, depending. I'm sure different areas, but that's yes.
Okay, so what was one of the biggest surprises, like when you're going through this process, but you're like, I wish I would have known that going into it?
Um, oof, good question. Uh, well, one thing, for example, my visa, I'm supposed to be with the student visa, you get the right to work 30 hours additional a week. And my visa says that I'm not permitted to work. So this has been an ongoing struggle since my time here. It's my second year, going to a bunch of different appointments, being told that yes, I have the right to work, but then nobody kind of really knowing how to fix it, or people saying different things or sending me to different people. So now um, it's year two, and by the time that I get the necessary appointments to try to fix it, my second contract is over. So I guess knowing that like on paper, maybe sometimes things look really pretty, and then in practice, they're like genuinely, I found it to be impossible to get this card fixed. I've really tried everything. So yeah.
So you apply for a visa that is a student visa, but they give you a card that says you can't work, even though the visa you applied for says that you should be able to work.
Yeah, so student visas should be allowed to work 30 hours additional a week. And I have emails that say I can do it. And then so I went to go fix it and just ever keep getting sent to a different office to then go fix it and then or go see this other person or it's not possible or go someone there was one that was like there's someone in New York. It's the New York office. I was like I can't go back to New York. Like you like if so at this point I won't just it's not going to work. So yeah, it's quite frustrating because like technically, everyone's saying I have the right
Hmm.
to it, but there's just no way to fix it. So
So the bureaucracy can be a bit of a headache.
yes.
I just lost my next question. Do 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 do. Is there other visas that you can apply for or things that you can transition to now that you are in Spain and you have worked?
Yeah, so now I'm applying to change my visa to an autonomous visa.
Mm.
so that I will be able to do freelance work here. And it's basically like you have to have a business plan and you have to have a very set plan of action for what work you will do to be able to apply for that. But yes, that's the next step.
And then could you still work as a teacher in the school districts or the school system or no?
No, and I've done my 2 years. So in the Valencian region, you can only do 2 years. Other regions you can do up to
Mm.
5. But Valencia has a cap for how long I can do.
I wonder why. That's interesting.
Yeah,
Ooh, hello, Faya. Something just went kaboom outside my window.
me as
Have
well.
you
Yes.
found like what? Have you found it hard to assimilate to the Valencian culture?
Um, I will say this year is so much easier than last year. I remember last year, like I said, I lived in a little bit smaller town. And so I think maybe like the city, maybe it's a little bit easier to assimilate, or maybe because I know the language so much better this year. But I just remember last
Mm,
year, everything was hard, like grocery shopping, just just going about my day was hard, which fun. And but also just wow, it was difficult. There would be days when I think that like just like my brain would just turn off. Like I felt like I wasn't hearing any sound when people were talking, but I think it was because there was so many different challenges at the same time that like people
hmm.
would be talking to me and like didn't get didn't even hear sound. Like I think my brain was like, let's compartmentalize that information and try to deal with buying an apple. Like you
Yeah.
know what I mean?
No entiendo nada. Gracias.
Exactly. This is why this podcast is called this.
Exactly.
Yo también, yo no sé nada.
I also think it's really crucial to point out that every immigration story is different in country to country, person to person, situation to situation. I know for us in particular, when my husband was going to apply for our visa, he got denied the first time when he applied as a single businessman. But when he put Declan and I as a family visa going for like a digital nomad visa, that's when he was approved. So I think too, there's Spain wanted, like Spain also wanted, I think, families to a degree as well. Like, that's what I've been told by other people too. And they don't want people to just gonna like relocate. You know what I mean? They want people to like come and stay. And I also read somewhere that they need like 23 million immigrants to help to come in like the next few years to help support their like pension and all their social programs. I don't know how true if that's true, but I did read that somewhere. So they don't want you to go anywhere really.
Yeah.
And what
It's like
about some of the go
oh
ahead.
sorry.
No, you go.
It's one of those it's one of those things too. It's like, but then it's also like there's the issue of like, a lot of people coming in is like driving up the housing costs, and so like being like super like aware of just like the impact. Just and anytime you're an expat, like that's so much of a thing is like being, I guess, very aware of like, okay, like how is this affecting them?
Mm-hmm.
Like which areas? Like I think I'm also trying to think about like, okay, where can I live where it's like supporting the locals, supporting the economy, but I'm not causing an issue. So that's
Yeah.
always super relevant to be aware of, and yeah, where the job market is, where they need, like for example, where I lived last year, they needed people to fill those apartments, like that was super helpful. But maybe like other places they're having an issue with the housing market. So maybe like where can you look to kind of support the locals? And yeah,
Were you in the same school last year that you are this year?
I am. Yeah, so I'm traveling quite a bit.
How long does it take you to get to work?
I take a 50-minute train, and then my school, because I don't have a car here, my school is about a 45-minute walk or a 10-minute bike ride, but my bike got stolen. So now I do a little bit of senderismo. I do a little bit of hiking every single day. But it's actually my favorite part of the day. I gotta say, like, I think that I feel like I've just gotten used to like just the way of life just being a little different here. And I listen to an audiobook every single day. And I just, the climate is so lovely here that actually, you know what? It's for the best. Didn't need the bike. Don't need the car.
Yeah, I was going to ask how you feel about the transportation setup. I mean, it's very different than America, where you have to have a car to really get anywhere, and unless you're living in like a super big city. But generally speaking, so how do you feel not having that car or bike?
It's so funny, like all these things that when I think this is probably why last year things felt so intense, and then this year they feel like I've gotten genuinely used to it, and I'm like, oh, why do we need a car? Like, why are we? That's like, and for me, like now it feels like just so like
Mm,
wasteful, but it's because I'm just gotten like so used to it, right? I love it. Like I love the train. It's I take a siesta every single day on the train. It's one of my favorite parts of the day. But the trains are super nice. And I'm looking outside, I'm passing by mountains, I'm passing by beautiful pueblos, like I'm
mm,
passing by orange groves. Like there's nothing that, it's for me it's wonderful. And it's free. They have a it's called an abono where basically you take 10 trips and it's free. So I don't pay anything for my 50-minute transportation each way. And then yeah, and then having a bike is beautiful. The city is so set up to have bike lanes to get everywhere by bike. So it's not like you may be stressful like biking in New York City, for example, where there's tons of cars and maybe. But here it's lovely. It's actually a wonderful route. So I love it. It's super easy, super cost effective, and good for the environment, right?
yeah, that's what I appreciate too. Like, I think, oh, actually, that's the only bad thing about living in a city, I think, in general, is there's always that congestion, smog, there's a bit, from like the buses and the cars and to give Valencia a lot of credit specifically, they do everything they can to be like the greenest. Last year, they were the greenest city in Europe. So I think it's a testament to like the values of the city, the values of the culture, the values of the people. I love not driving personally. So I'm like, yeah, take the to the metro, please. um,
Like I love a
I
good
find,
road trip. Like I rented a car last year and it was super fun because you really can get around Spain
mhm.
like so quick. I mean, comparatively, right? Like because it's so much smaller than the States. So it's like right, renting a car is so fun because you can like literally like do the country. You can really do a whole road trip. But we don't need it for long term, right?
No, 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 no. What do you love most about living in Spain and Valencia in particular?
Um, I love I love there's such a like beautiful like work-life balance that's here,
Mm,
it's like we are working and we're also like living, like it's really taught me to kind of like I said, I left a world of me having 7 jobs and whether that's no one was telling me I needed that, right? But I think it was so maybe ingrained in the culture, or maybe kind of what we see that's like I realized that that's actually not how I need to live life. And I also
mm,
like, for example, I live out of 1 or 2 suitcases here, right? Like I was like, oh, these material things I really don't need. Like I'd rather have these experiences and I'd rather have a life and have this balance. So definitely that. I love I love Spanish. I love learning Spanish. I love the culture of it. And so everything is always interesting because you always have something to do in Spanish in the Spanish culture. So that as well. And I just also think that you can also meet some really cool people here, like beyond the locals and the expats. We all kind of, I feel like a lot of us have like a very fun, similar mentality. We're like,
mhm.
we meet people from around the world. Um, it's super interesting to see. Like, I think it makes me kind of question like just everything, like instead of like maybe like if you are always in the same place, you maybe think that this is the way things always are and always have been, and that's just the way things work. But then maybe like meeting so many people from around the world and like living in different spots, it's like I feel like I am definitely a questioner now. Like instead of like, oh, this just works this way, I'm like, really? Because I'm like that country, they do it differently and it's working out for them. Like, so I think it really allows me to like take a second and just kind of question everything and like it doesn't need to be this way. It could work a different way. So did I
Uh,
answer that question? I don't know if I've
Yeah,
I think I read about.
I'm sure you did. I'm sure you did. Is there anything you miss about living in America?
Um,
Dun 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 dun.
I think the biggest thing is just a family and friends. Like if I could just take
Mm,
my like people that I love in America and just convince them to finally live here with me, that would be a brilliant concept. That's definitely the biggest thing for me.
yeah, I get that. I get that too. Um, has there been any like things that have surprised you about living in Spain? That you're like, like good or bad, like, oh, like didn't know that could was a possibility, or you never thought that you just never thought or experienced in America?
Oh, for sure. But I need to think about that. Yes. This is one of those big questions that this call will be over and I'll be like, I have a list. There's a
I've
whole
got 20
list.
things.
Oh, um, well, I mean, for example, what surprised me about Spain, but surprised me about me is like just kind of like how you kind of like mold into the culture like that you're in, right? Like I think like for example, like we eat dinner a lot later here, like it's like
Mm-hmm.
10 p.m. At 11 a.m. it's really normal to have a sandwich, a bocadillo, but it's like it's like a kind of like a Subway. It's a baguette, right?
Yeah.
Like, and you
Yeah.
have like, and it's and you have like like a Subway sandwich. I guess I'm really Americanizing that with that comment, but basically it's like at 11 a.m. and then at 2 you would have like your like big meal of the day, which is lunch. And I remember last year I was like, I'm not hungry. I can't like have a sandwich at 11 a.m. That's not right. And now I'm like, I literally crave a bocadillo at 11 a.m. Like it's the craziest thing, and I need my siesta, and I'm also now on this later schedule. So it's what I think is fascinating is you really do kind of like mold into the country. And another thing is coffee. Like I was always like I need to have my coffee and go. Like the concept of sitting with coffee like just like was not in my brain. And every other people would say like, "Oh, why would you walk with coffee? Like why wouldn't you sit with it and enjoy a cup of coffee?" And like I genuinely think I like the taste of coffee better in a
It,
to-go cup. But now I'm like, why would I not sit with coffee and enjoy a cup of coffee in a nice glass? Like now I'm like, why on earth would we walk with it? Like it's just so funny, like how like you can kind of mold to like where you're at, right?
yeah.
I,
The siesta thing, I know it's not in all of Spain still, like Madrid and Barcelona definitely don't shut down from what I've experienced, but it is interesting to see it in Valencia. Like, especially, I mean, the city center is not as, I think, as rampant, but like even where I am in the northwest part of like Campanar, there's the little coffee shop shuts from 2 to 5 every day, every day. And no one's opening at 6 a.m. for you to get your latte either. Like
yep,
they're opening at 8:30, 9 o'clock.
yep,
That's it. That's it. It is what it is. You're not getting eight if you're lucky. There's some places that I've seen that like 7:30 is the earliest. But the other funny thing is I've seen those places close down at 2 a.m.
yeah.
and
Well, and then
they're
yeah. Oh, yes, you go out way later than this day. I've never made it. That a lot of people make it till 7 a.m. I that is not ever been a thing. But another thing with
no.
siesta is like I think the misconception is siesta does mean nap, but everyone thinks that everyone goes home and takes a nap, and that's not. It's
No.
more just a time of rest. So like when I say siesta, it's just more like you like the bank will be closed at 2. Like the things will like it won't be open because everyone is resting, and so that's kind of a
Well,
nice.
having lunch, and like,
Yeah.
you know, uh, those kinds of things that happen during that time. What was the other thing? Oh, the school system is very different. And you probably can speak more to this than I can because my son, I just heard something go off
That's a petard.
on
Yeah,
me.
but a firework.
Yeah.
Fire.
Mascletas. Yes. Um, the school system is set up differently in the public schools from what I understand. Like a lot of them and some of the private schools that are in the city, like they break for lunch for like 2 hours at like 1, and you can see the kids walking home and then walking back to school for like the last 2 hours from like 3 to 5, and you're just like, oh my gosh, like that's crazy to me, like what. But
Yeah,
that's
some of the
just
schools
how
are
it's
set
done.
up that way. My school is 9 to 2, and then the kids can stay for lunch, and they can stay for after school activities. But I know some of the schools, yeah, they come back.
Yeah, I don't get that. I'm like, if I was a kid, I would not be going back to school after I went home and had lunch. No, thank you.
Little
Is
nap.
there anything that you've experienced in your travels, your going on a cruise ship is very different. Going to Dubai is a very unique experience, and all of these different forays into work and travel, and also moving about the world. Is there any specific, or and can be multiple as well, things that you want to share with somebody who might be thinking about doing it as well? Like, what is something that we're like, if I only fucking had that information before I left the boat or got on the boat or went to Dubai, that would have been very beneficial to have a more successful or seamless transition?
I would say like the biggest thing is the littlest things, like stuff that I wouldn't have thought to think of. Like for example, what I said when
Mm,
I got off and I was like, my phone doesn't work. And for example, like you're American, if you're coming from America, like that, your phone, a lot of times they lock the phones, so you can't put in a new SIM card. And so when
hmm
you're there, you don't have an ability, you need to get a burner phone or something like that. Like things like this where, you like little information. Or for example, like how your card probably isn't going to work when you get there. Like you need to get maybe a Wise card or a Revolut card. So like little
hmm
details like that um is the most important. So I would definitely recommend there's so many expat lists of like what to know before you go, and it's the little details that you think about the big details, but those little things will kind of really get you.
I think that's a really good point. Something as simple as like opening a bank account.
Yes.
You need certain paperwork to open a bank account. Um, and so that, like you're saying, the Wise account, the Revolut. What did my husband do? He set up like a nickel account so that he could get internet in the house because you had to have a
Mhm.
bank account to open like the da, 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 da. And I think some
Right, there's
like
always
exactly
like
what you're
one
saying.
step that doesn't work. Yeah.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And to pay bills, like for your apartment. Like for me anyway, I had to have a bank account for the utilities to be automatically deducted. Like there's no choice. They are auto deducted. You don't get to send a check or pay when you want to pay, like go online and pay your bill. They just come out. They send you the pre-bill. You can look at it. And so it's just like exactly what you're exactly like
My
I would
lifeline
have
has
got.
definitely been Facebook groups, just joining, like there's expat Facebook groups. You can do, for example, like here, like Americans of Valencia, there's expat, like there's a bunch of different groups where you can just ask really targeted questions of people who've been through it. And that's really like the easiest way to get information because otherwise, and especially like if it's someone from your own country too, it's a little bit easier to get like really targeted information to get there. And also just for housing, for stuff, for just any sort of information. So definitely join all of the Facebook groups, ask a lot of questions, see
What
what
do
people,
you,
yeah.
yeah, no, go. What do you think about using lawyers in for visa purposes, et cetera? Do you think that would make things easier or more frustrating, or what's your experience?
So yeah, so I know a lot of people, like for example, for the student visa, like people have like hired like lawyers to be able to get that as well. And it's quite expensive. Like I've never needed to do it. I think a lot of it is if you can know, like I said, ask questions, go find other expats that have done it before and ask them how to do it. Like even with like for example, like student visa, it was really hard to get an appointment for it, and that was a big thing where people were getting lawyers, right? But I know someone who knew exactly the time that you need to ask. You need to make your appointment, and that was made me able to get it. So I think prior to maybe booking in a lawyer, I always say there's always like another way to get to your goal. So maybe ask a lot of questions, be like, I have this issue, go to expat events, go to intercambios, and go see if you can get the information prior to paying for a lawyer. And then when you have the lawyer, you're sure that you need them and you can maybe book a consultation and just ask all of the questions that you're sure you can't answer without them. But that way you'll save yourself a lot of time. A lot of money. A lot of money.
But well, time and money too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
Right, because you're
uh,
getting it exactly from targeted people that have done it before. So yeah.
yeah. I think that's a good note. Oh, you still end up doing most of the work yourself. With a lawyer, from what I've experiences that friends have had, you still have to pull all the information to give to the lawyers. So you still have to go find the things. So it can be a big headache because you still have to do the legwork, but they're just gonna go like double check everything before it's submitted, and you're just like, so you end up doing so much of it yourself, which is why your note of getting nitty gritty with somebody and getting very focused and poignant questions to a group can be very beneficial and time saving and cost effective. Now, can we just talk a little bit about these appointments? what kind of appointments are you speaking about, and how do they impact the visa process, just to be specific?
Well, yeah, so specifically with Spain, once you get here, you get like a temporary residency card for 3 months for here, and then you have to switch that to get like your residency card that's valid for the time of your contract, or I mean, depending on which residency you're on. So, for example, like mine was an 8-month contract. So I have when I get here, I have to go to the extranjería and change and get it's called a tarjeta de extranjera, and I need to get this card. So basically, this appointment can be notoriously a little bit hard to get. They're always kind of like booked out. So yes, and if you don't get that, your visa will expire in 3 months, and you can't stay here, right? So that is yes. And I think that's not just the student visa. That's anyone who is an expat who's coming into Spain. You need your TIE and your NIE.
Yeah, that's a really good note too.
Acronyms.
Although
Yeah.
I've also heard that there's some backlog, so
There's some what?
there's like some backlog trying to get that's why it's certain, like, they're not super strict when you come into the country having your TIE card, the physical card, because it's been such a process to get to these appointments for people, because there's only so many appointments, and you have to go to one specific office and blah blah. So I still use my passport every time I come in and out of Spain.
And you can ask for a regresso. Like if you don't have it, there's like a document that you can ask for if it's still processing, and they'll give you like a temporary card, but you need like an appointment to get that as well. So, but apparently it's easier. So I've never done it.
Yeah. Is there anything else we didn't know we needed to know, or that you'd like to share about your expat journey?
So much. I just would say like just being just super open to just every like different different perspective, different way of life, like just really just putting yourself fully into the experience. And like it's because it's so out of your comfort zone, all these expat lives, it can be easy to try to fall into a comfort zone, right? But just really take it and go with it. Like, okay, this is different than we do things. Cool. This is how we're doing it. And really just see like, wow, how is living like this? How does it work? Right. Like and then just take a second and just really fully immerse yourself. And like, it's such a beautiful, beautiful thing that we have this opportunity to be expats and to have this different perspective of the world entirely. So really just take that opportunity and run with it. Even if you feel uncomfortable, even if it feels crazy to do it, because it's such a cool experience, and something that will always, I think my point of view is always going to be changed. So definitely run with it.
I love that. And it's true. Like, you're here to learn, do something different. Don't try to recreate what you had.
Just laugh at yourself. Like, I do some things dumb all the time because but like, just laugh. It's just funny. Like, instead of taking it so seriously.
I hear the fireworks. Where are you?
It's Fayez. I'm in the city center. So.
Oh my gosh. Sounds like a party. Okay. Anyway. Well, April, thank you so much for sharing your experiences and your adventure. I'm the mom who does not. My name is Brianna, and we hope that you learned something you didn't know you needed to.